So, my mom is pressuring me to marry my super creepy stepbrother, pay off his debts, and have his baby. To make things worse, she's also been lying about inheritance and harassing me at work. I'm 29, female, and have an older stepbrother, Chris, who's 42, male. This guy has been a nightmare ever since my mom married his dad. Let me give you some background. Our parents tied the knot when I was just 4 and Chris was 17. Both of our parents were widowed, so after their wedding, we moved to the US because my mom had American citizenship through her first marriage. I was born in the US too, but after my dad passed away when I was 1, my mom and I moved back to Colombia. My stepdad got his residency through their marriage, and my stepbrother came along since he was still a minor. Chris was never a fan of mine. My earliest memories of him are filled with constant bullying. He was supposed to babysit me since he was studying locally and living with my parents. But his idea of babysitting meant locking me in the guest bathroom or the shed outside. He used to steal my lunchbox whenever he dropped me off at school and even hurt my pets. I have this old cat who's been with me for almost 22 years, and Chris tried more than once to run her over with his car. My parents never believed me, though. They thought Chris could do no wrong. My mom always wanted a son, so Chris was the golden child, and I was always second fiddle. The bullying just got worse and creepier over time. He had this long key for the bathroom designed to unlock the door from outside in case it got accidentally locked. Chris would use it to barge in while I was showering. My underwear would sometimes go missing, and I knew it was him. He started taking pictures of me while I was sleeping. One night, I even woke up to find him, well, taking care of himself next to me while I slept. I screamed, my parents came running, but somehow he didn't get in trouble. I did for tempting him. I was 14, and he was 27. No one helped me, and things just kept getting worse until he did something that still haunts me today. When I was 16, I called my half-older brother, Sam, 48 male, from my biological dad's first marriage, to see if I could live with him and his wife Sandy. Sam was furious when he found out what was going on and confronted my mom. She didn't care and just told him to take me as long as he never asked her for money. So, Sam and Sandy became my legal guardians and took me, my cat, and our old family dog in. I didn't trust leaving any living creature around Chris. My parents never checked on me. Thank goodness for my father's side of the family, who all rallied around to make sure I could finish school and go to college. I don't know my mom's side of the family at all. Thanks to Sam and his extended family, including his mom, I got my bachelor's and master's degrees with no student debt, and now work as a nurse practitioner. I still live with Sam, Sandy, and their 2 kids, paying a small rent, even though they don't expect me to. It's the least I can do after all they've done for me over the past 13 years. Living expenses are crazy where I am, so staying with them makes sense until I can afford my own place. Things were going okay until my mom recently messaged me out of the blue. The last time I heard from her was when I turned 18, and she told me she no longer had any responsibility for me. This time she was overly friendly, saying she missed me and wanted to know how I was. It was super creepy, but I played nice and filled her in on what I'd been up to. She seemed super interested to know that I was a nurse, but started asking about my salary. I didn't give her specifics, just said it was enough to pay the bills. Then she moved on to talk about Chris and how he's struggling financially because of his student debt. Apparently, he never finished a degree and kept jumping from one career to another. Now, he's working as a salesman at my stepdad's used car business, but most of his pay goes towards his huge debt. I told my mom I was sorry to hear about Chris and wished him luck. That's when she dropped the bomb. She said I needed to pay off Chris's student debt so he could finally start making the money he deserves, like the man of the family. I was stunned and just turned off my phone. When I got home, Sam could tell something was up because I was home earlier than usual. I told him what happened and showed him the texts from my mom. He was livid. He told me to block my mom, stepdad, and Chris, which I did. After talking with Sam and Sandy, I decided to take a couple of days off work to clear my head. My boss was super understanding and gave me a 4-day weekend. But then things took another turn. The next day, my mom and Chris showed up at Sam's house to confront me. I was home alone since everyone else was at work or school. I called Sam right away, and he told me not to open the door and that he was on his way. My mom was outside, screaming that I owed them for raising me and that my sweet brother deserved my money. Meanwhile, Chris was trying to find a way into the house, checking all the windows and doors. Luckily, all the windows have safety bars, and the doors were locked. It got pretty intense. Chris saw me through a window and started yelling all sorts of horrible things, saying they should have thrown me away when I was a baby and calling me names. He got so mad that he pounded on a window and actually cracked the glass. Eventually, they gave up and left. So I got up and went back to the front door, and it was clear they were trying to kick it down. I figured no worries. It's a security door. But honestly, I was still petrified. Between the yelling, threatening, pleading, and insults, I finally heard Sam scream at them to get lost. I could only see what was happening through the window. Sam pretty much dragged them off the porch. They got to a spot where I couldn't hear them anymore, but I could see my mom and Chris looking pale and scared before they ran to their car and sped off way faster than the law allows. Sam came in a bit later and immediately went into overprotective brother mode. He kept asking if I was okay, apologizing, and hugging me. Sandy showed up almost right after and looked ready to commit a felony. Apparently, Sam had threatened Chris with pressing charges for what he did to me when I was 16. My brother's a total ace. Even my stepdad was willing to testify against his own son. That was enough to get Chris off our backs, but not my mom. It's been 3 days, and since then, my mom hasn't stopped. She's been texting, calling nonstop from different numbers, and getting other so-called family members to harass me for money. She claims that the money legally belongs to her because she's my mother, and it's my late father's missed child support. Sam's been helping me find a lawyer to get a restraining order on my mom, and I'm planning to take up my stepdad's offer to testify by pressing charges against Chris. I can't say I can fully forgive my stepdad for not stopping his son, but I do appreciate that he's at least trying now. I don't know all the details, but Chris did something terrible to a relative on his dad's side, which caused a major fallout between them. I took my boss's offer and am on vacation for a few more days, but it feels like my vacation days are getting eaten up by all this drama. My therapist's going to need a therapist after all this. Thankfully, my dark sense of humor and my supportive paternal family are keeping me somewhat sane. Update. Didn't think I'd be updating so soon, but here we are. My mom's relentless. Thanks to everyone who gave advice earlier. It really helps to have people be kind when things are tough. I followed the advice to freeze my credit and will be getting a new personal phone, though I'll have to stick with my old phone for work for now. Now, for the situation update. We're moving forward with pressing charges and might even go for a civil lawsuit for the 2 years of child support my mom owes. Not sure how strong our case is, but my brother wants to go scorched earth on her. My mom's launched a new campaign against me, posting all over the place claiming I falsely accused Chris of sexual assault. She's also accusing me of trying to seduce him for years, and even got some relatives, who I just found out are my aunts, to back her up, saying they were witnesses. I've never met these women in my life. My stepdad actually commented on her posts, calling her a liar and accusing Chris of being a pedo. That's how I found out about the big fallout between them. Chris went after one of my stepdad's nieces. I don't know the girl's exact age, but she's likely around my age, if not younger. A bunch of my biological father's relatives have also taken to social media to call out my mom, saying she always claimed to be an orphan with no family. Yet now she magically has 3 sisters. It's a complete mess. For now, I'm just trying to be a stay-at-home aunt. My nephews love it because we go out for crazy shenanigans after they finish their homework. My boss helped with some paperwork for a leave of absence, so I should be off for about 6 weeks and then working mostly from home for a bit. Things aren't exactly fun, but at least I get to spend time with the kiddos. Oh, and no, my mom is not likely sleeping with or in a relationship with my stepbrother. Some people suggested that, but it's not the case. My mom always wanted a son, and I was a disappointment because I was born a girl. She treats my stepbrother like he's her real son and truly loves him as her own. Update 2. Hope the title's okay for the rules here. I was recommended to post here, but wasn't exactly sure where to start. My mom was widowed when I was 1. My biological father was much older than her. She was wife number 2, with a 20-plus age difference. She remarried her hometown sweetheart, who had a 17-year-old son. My dad was American, my mom is Colombian. I was born in the U.S. Then we moved to Colombia for a bit before coming back to the U.S. when I was 4. My whole life, my mom constantly complained about me being a girl. She'd say stuff like, "If you were a boy, maybe we could have gotten more from your father." Or, "Girls are so useless." I was nothing but a problem child to her. She took my inheritance and squandered it mostly on things for my stepbrother. Whenever she had guests, she'd introduce me and joke about how I ruined her body and wasn't even worth it since I was a girl. Most of her friends thought I had some kind of mental illness because of her lies about me being mentally behind. She used the R word. She'd often blame it on my gender, saying I was clearly inferior because I was born a girl. During holidays, I'd be left with a sitter because I was supposedly too much of a problem child and would ruin things for my sweet brother. We only have one family picture from when I was 5. If I got anything nice with my own money, my mom would take it away, saying I wasn't attractive or worthy enough to have such things and should just stick with a plain face to make it easier to find a job. When I finished high school, she had no intention of letting me go to college. But the worst part is, she never protected me. My stepbrother is a predator. At first, he just bullied me by stealing my food and locking me in dark places. But when I hit puberty, things got much worse. He started walking in on me. So, here's the deal. Even when I locked the bathroom door while showering, he'd sneak in and steal my underwear, watch me sleep, and yeah, he sexually assaulted me when I was just 16, and he was 29. My mom? She totally blamed me, saying I was tempting her precious boy. Luckily, my biological half-brother and his wife took me in at 16, helped raise me, and with the support of my dad's side of the family, they got me through college. Even my dad's first wife chipped in. She's been more of a mother to me than my own mom ever was. Fast forward, I'm now 29, working as a nurse practitioner and saving up to buy my own place. But guess what? My mom found out and started demanding my money because, according to her, since she's my mother, my money should be hers. She also wants me to pay off my abusive stepbrother's student loans. Since I refused, she's been posting online, calling me a temptress trying to ruin her son's life, and claiming I refused to pay her back for all the love and care she gave me. She even roped in some supposed aunts to back her up. Fun fact, I never met any of my maternal family, and suddenly, I have 3 aunts accusing me of being a horrible person. So here's another update. I'm in the middle of legal battles now. Haven't talked much about my biological dad. He passed away when I was 1, so I never really knew him. I have one picture of him holding me as a baby. From what I've heard, he was pretty well off and made sure to leave me with a comfortable inheritance. I didn't know about any of this because I assumed my mom had squandered any inheritance on her favorite stepson, Chris, who was my abuser. My mom always told me, daughters don't need inheritance, just a wealthy hubby. Recently, with all the harassment from my mom and Chris, we went to my dad's lawyer to get some paperwork for the lawsuit. The lawyer, a sweet older guy who was my dad's best friend, greeted me warmly. His wife was there too, and they insisted we have dinner together soon. As we dug into the documents, we found out my mom had been forging receipts to withdraw money from my trust fund. Yes, even during the time I was under my half-brother Sam's guardianship. The lawyer told me there's no way to keep this just in civil court. He had to contact the IRS and the police since it's clear fraud. She's even misused my social security number. Big shout out to those of you who advised me to freeze my credit. You saved me big time. I'm going to be really busy with all this legal stuff and might not post updates for a while. Mentally, I'm just drained. Honestly, I wouldn't have pursued this if my mom had just left me alone. I never knew about the trust fund and wouldn't have found out if she hadn't kept up the fraud. Now I'm in the process of claiming what's left, which should be enough to buy a house or a condo, and have some left to invest or save. I'm holding off on buying anything right now since she still has my social security number. And here's a little personal rant. Just got back from a bar where my mom harassed me. Quick background, my mom let her stepson Chris, who's 13 years older than me, abuse me since I was a kid. Now, she wants me to pay off his student loans and has been living off my biological dad's inheritance. Last night, I went out with some girlfriends because my half-brother Sam and his wife Sandy have been encouraging me to have some fun. I'm usually a massive introvert, so I stuck by the bar stools, enjoying a drink and chatting with the bartender. Then, bam, my mom shows up alone, thank God, and makes a beeline for me. She starts crying, saying how much she missed me and how different I looked. It was super awkward, and I was trying to shake her off, but she caused a huge scene, begging for reconciliation and claiming I misunderstood my stepbrother's affection. Total nightmare. So there I was, dealing with my super loud mom, and people around us started staring. Some folks even looked like they felt bad for her. Random strangers were telling me to hug her back, which was just super awkward and wrong. I couldn't handle it anymore and just exploded, yelling at her to leave me alone before storming off. But that made things even worse, because she just kept following me, along with 2 or 3 random people, calling me an awful daughter and throwing a ton of swear words my way. She went on about how Chris really cares for me and wants us to be a family again. She even had the nerve to tell me that he found me so beautiful that he couldn't help himself when he assaulted me. She tried to frame it as him making love to me. For context, I was a minor when he attacked me, and he was nearly 30. I just broke down, crying and screaming at her to leave me alone. Thankfully, one of my more sober friends, Sam, called and came over really quickly. He managed to scare my mom away and took me back home. At this point, I'm sure I don't ever want to go out again. For those wondering why I never called the cops, I did call them when I was 11 to report the abuse, and again at 16 for what Chris did to me. They always took his side, and I don't trust them anymore. I feel like the cops just don't care about sexual abuse victims. I'm writing this to vent since my therapist isn't available, so Reddit's the next best thing. Update 5. Sorry for the radio silence, but nothing much has happened until this weekend. For a quick recap, my mom always preferred my stepbrother Chris, who's 42 now, and he abused me when I was growing up. The abuse happened from the time I was 11 until I moved out at 16 after the worst attack. Recently, my mom and Chris tracked me down and have been harassing me since. Right now, I'm in a legal battle to get back some inheritance from my dad and handling other issues. This weekend, my mom showed up at my work. I usually do clerical work from home for the clinic, where I'm a nurse practitioner, but this weekend, I had to be in the office. Saturday was fine, but on Sunday, I saw someone with my mom's unique name, minus the last name, on the appointment list. I just thought it was another person from the big Latino community around here. Turns out, it was my mom using a fake last name. When I saw her, I immediately called my boss, who knows the situation. My boss asked her to leave since she was just there for a general checkup, not an emergency. According to state law, we can refuse service if a staff member's safety feels threatened. My mom demanded to see me specifically and went on a rampage when she was refused, even shoving another lady on her way out. She left a letter with my boss, who then made sure I wouldn't get any patients with my mom's first name. I decided to read the letter to see if it could help my legal case. It was a manipulative mess about how much she loves me and wants to mend things, pushing the idea that Chris loves me and wants to marry me. She knows I can't get pregnant because of the complications from his attack, but she still talked about raising a baby with him. I showed the letter to my lawyer, and we added it to our case file. Still no court date, and most cops don't seem to take the case seriously enough to file a restraining order, though one officer has been really helpful. Update. Just 3 days later, Chris got himself arrested for kidnapping a 2-year-old girl, his cousin's daughter. Luckily, she was found safe and wasn't gone for long. Who knows what he had planned? If I get more details, I'll keep you posted.